Hey, what's up, Cub fans? Welcome to another episode of Talking Cubs, sponsored by CubsInsider.com. We are now a happy part of the Cubs Insider team. We appreciate you guys joining us. I'm Ryan Davis. I'll be joined in a moment by Sean Sears, and we're talking about the pitching from the first series of the season against the Texas Rangers, specifically Yu Darvish, and a little bit on Cole Hamels as well. But Sean, Yu Darvish went on Saturday. He went 2 2/3 innings. He walked a career high 7 batters. That is not what you were hoping from Yu Darvish in this game.
No, and it's frustrating too because I think it was like maybe the first 8 batters he saw, he didn't allow a hit. Like they were only getting on base because of him walking. So it was either striking them out or walking them. So obviously, ultimately, we'll talk about this later on, but people are kind of making the case that they thought, oh, well, if a couple of pitches went Darvish's way, maybe he has a great outing. No, he still was bad. He was very bad. He had poor location with his fastball. His velocity was, consistently around 96, 97, even 98 in spring training just a week ago. He comes into this start on Saturday and he's touching like 92, 93, not where you expect Darvish to be at all. He can't command that fastball. The slider was working okay, but it doesn't always land in the zone as much, and it's more of a secondary pitch to kind of work with, and when you're ahead of the count to kind of throw an entice swing. But the Rangers just started sitting on it, and he ended up on base because he started walking guys. So there wasn't too many good things to take away from that Darvish start. And obviously being his first start in, since June for the Cubs, that was a tough pill to swallow for a lot of Cubs fans.
Yeah, no, you kind of stole my thunder there a little bit by talking about the velocity. I went to one of that's all right. One of my favorite sites, Brooks Baseball, and looked up the numbers from his game on the fastball. It looks like he was averaging 92.6 miles per hour, which is well under what we saw him do in spring training, which you just talked about. We saw him more 95, 96 with the fastball. His max was 94.6. I think during games that I saw him pitch in spring training, the max was around 97. Saw him touch that once or twice. So a couple miles an hour under. He also was struggling to locate. I know this is, if you watch the games and you're a Cubs fan, you probably also noticed he got squeezed on several pitches. There were ones that were borderline right close to the zone that were called balls. There were ones that were just barely in the zone that were called balls. And then there were a couple that were very obviously strikes that were called balls. But look, even if the umpire had been calling it, all, 100% correct by the robotic strike zone that you see on the screen, Yu Darvish still was struggling to locate his pitches. His velocity was still down. It still didn't look right. And, the guy was just not good against a Texas Rangers team that frankly should not have been, putting up those sort of walk totals against this guy.
No, and the crazy thing is on Saturday, I think the Rangers had at least one strikeout in each one of their innings until CJ Edwards got to that game. So obviously super aggressive. That's pretty on the money with their MO, as the Rangers are a pretty hyper-aggressive team that likes to swing at pitches, and they're really boom or bust, and the Cubs weren't even letting them be boom or bust. They were just putting them on first. And so you can't win games like that. And then when Darvish does give up a couple hits, boom, boom, all of a sudden the Cubs are down a little bit. I think what the frustrating part to me a little bit is Wilson Contreras kind of talked about after the game. He was saying Darvish was almost being too fine with his pitches, meaning that he was just trying to nail those corners and just show, the nice breaking balls coming through the zone or just nail the black. And he just didn't have that command. And instead of changing his approach, he still continued to try and miss bats. And instead of missing bats, he was just missing the zone altogether. So he just started walking guys. And it kind of brings to the question, can Darvish really start to induce soft contact in moments, or is he really just a strikeout guy? Because obviously that's the case. We're going to see a huge influx in games. We'll see, 12 strikeouts and maybe a couple walks, or we'll see 12 walks and a couple strikeouts.
Yeah, and he had a few strikeouts in the game, and that was kind of the big thing through. He struck out the side in the first inning minus the 3 walks, but just looking, I'll throw that graphic back up. As you can see, he threw 76 pitches. He only got 26 swings on those pitches, and it looks like he only had 5 guys swing and miss. So 5 whiffs on the total of his 76, 77 pitches that he had there. That's an ugly game. Obviously the Rangers were not fooled by a whole lot, despite the fact that he did have a few strikeouts. They, some of even the borderline stuff, they just were not, that they had a game plan where they were just not going to swing against him. And that's something that we don't want to overreact. This is one game after a fairly decent spring, and the fact that he's healthy is the most important thing. But it's just ugly to watch that kind of thing happen. And it turned into like a 4-hour 9-inning game. Even worse. I mean, that nobody wants to watch that.
No, I mean, Darvish was over 60 pitches after 2 innings. Like, that's insane. I I think that what you just said about the swinging strikes, that really shows you right there at the Rangers. I mean, obviously familiar with Darvish, but I mean, it's not like they had the book on him at this point. I mean, he's a little bit different of a pitcher than he was during his tenure with the Rangers at this point. But yeah, if you're not getting guys to swing at your pitches and your MO is to have balls come in and out of the zone, you've got to get ahead of batters, and he just didn't do that. I don't have his first strike numbers in front of me, but I would not be surprised if they're relatively low. The other annoying part, too, is it just seems like the Cubs struggle with 2 outs to get that third out. I mean, we saw a lot of their pitchers today, on Sunday, Saturday, even Friday, a little bit just struggle. Once they got those first 2 outs, felt like the approach from the Rangers changed a little bit, and the Cubs just couldn't get that final out. And a couple of runs squeaked by a few times in this series. So there's a lot of things you need to clean up. But ultimately, like you said, the first game, Darvish is healthy. You at least know he can build off of this, has actual tape from 2019 that he can go look at and make adjustments and hopefully continue to improve on this. Because you can see the potential there. Obviously, he can strike guys out when he needs to in moments, but we need him to be more than just a guy that's missing bats.
Right. And, Cole Hamels started on Sunday. Let's talk a little bit about him. Now that we're done with Darvish and his 2 2/3 with 4 strikeouts and 7 walks. But Cole Hamels, he went 5 innings. The stat line doesn't look good. 6 hits, 5 earned runs, gave up a grand slam, 3 walks, 4 strikeouts. That's not a great line, but I think anyone who watched felt like he pitched a lot better than that stat line, or at least maybe, I did. So here's what happened in the 5th inning with a runner on first and 2 outs. It was a 3-2 count against Logan Forsythe, of all people. And Hamels got absolutely squeezed. He threw him strike 3. Forsythe took the pitch, and the umpire called it ball 4. After that, I believe Jeff Mathis walked, and then Delino DeShields Jr., one of the last guys you would expect in that lineup to be hitting a grand slam, parked one on the seats in left field. And that was really one of the big swings of the game, because the Cubs were up 4-1 at that point. Then it became 5-4. Later, the Cubs were up 8-5. Then it was 10-8 Texas. Then it was 10-10. And then, of course, Pedro Strop threw the wild pitch, and the Rangers walked him off in the 9th. But this is just stuff that needs to get cleaned up. You can complain all day about the umpires, but the walks, the pitchers just need to be executing a little bit better. And that was really the story of this first series from the pitching side, was a lack of execution.
Yeah, that's exactly right on the dot. It really was just, I mean, even like Jim Deshaies and Len Casper were talking about it in Sunday's game, like the pitch that Montgomery gave up to tie the game up at 8 apiece. That was not a bad idea of a pitch. It's just the location of it wasn't there. It just felt like no one could really, it felt like no one had a good grasp on one pitch. Someone would make a good pitch with the one, like Montgomery had his cutter going and nailed the corner one time. And then 3 straight pitches, he can't seem to get the inside corner with that cutter. And that's one of his best pitches. That's probably his best pitch outside maybe his curveball. But it just felt like no one had a feel. And maybe it's spring training jitter, or, coming from spring training the first week, just getting adjusted to the regular season, I guess. I don't really know, but you have to think like there's something more that I don't know what I'm saying. Hold on one second. With Montgomery, I mean, not being able to look at his pitches, that's a concern. And you just see it across the board. No one really felt confident, felt like in one pitch. And so when you're leaning on these guys in big moments and not being able to execute, it just became too easy. And you look at what Cole Hamels did today. I would agree. I think the stat line doesn't necessarily support what he's doing, because minus that grand slam, that's an okay outing for Cole Hamels. But it just seemed like it stopped. It stopped working for him all of a sudden. He had some good moments and the breaking balls were working. He was able to locate his fastball, and then suddenly the command was disappearing. Walks were piling up, and the Rangers all of a sudden were winning 5-4.
All right. Well, this is the part where we turn it over to you, the listener, the watcher, I guess. Go down to the comments below. Let us know what you thought about Cole Hamels and Yu Darvish. What do you think we're wrong about what we're saying, or do you agree with us? Give us a thumbs up if you like this content. Click the subscribe button if you're not already subscribing. We're now officially a part of CubsInsider.com, so we're really excited about that. And we will talk to you guys again next time.